Michele, and here I have Mark and Michele. I'll give them the opportunity to kind of take the floor and tell me more about yourself, your background, and kind of how you came into the psychedelic space.
I'm going to let Michele go this morning.
Yeah, this is exciting. We're usually on the other end of things here, so this is kind of fun. We got started in the psychedelic space myself. It was exactly 4 years ago, October 2019. And I went and did ayahuasca at a church in Orlando. And that was my first experience. I'd had plenty of experience with psychedelics in high school and college, but, recreationally, not ceremonially. So that was my first experience exactly 4 years ago.
Was it your only one?
No, it was definitely not my only one, but it was my first. It was ayahuasca, and it was that weekend was so life-changing for me. 4 years later, I'm literally living a different life.
Wow.
Completely.
Yeah. I'm the same as Michele. I was in that rut for a long time, like most of us are. I was hitting the age of 50, had that corporate job, that corporate world, married, divorced, did the whole 3D thing, and I was still depressed and just in this funk. And, right before COVID, I just kept seeing ayahuasca came up, and I basically went to the same church down in Orlando. I started my journey there. And after the first journey, I bought this URL called the Plant Medicine Path. Didn't know what I was ever going to do with it, but I knew there was a vision here. There was something about this medicine that was pretty special.
That's so inspiring. I love that your soul just already knew that this is the direction it wanted to take, and you followed that.
Yeah.
Can we talk pre and post? So where were you pre-ayahuasca or sacrament, and then post? Like, how did you get here?
So myself, I actually came to the medicine, my children's father, Matt, and two out of the three of my children had gone and done ayahuasca at Soul Quest. And I went after seeing a very profound change in him. We had been divorced for 15 years at that point. I had been in recovery for about 15 years as well. I'd been in Alcoholics Anonymous for many, many, many years. And I felt like, although I had been on a spiritual path for that long, I felt like there had to be more. It still felt like something was missing, that just felt like there had to be more. And then after watching him go through his experience when he came back, the way that he loved himself and the way that he loved our kids was so different. I just thought, I have to go check this out. And so I went myself. And the first time I went, I went with him and my daughter. And then the next time I went, I met Mark at that church.
Yeah, that's it. Well, post medicine for me was, my life was just like a revolving Groundhog Day. It was the same cycle, trying to get out of it, but there was no way kind of out of it, because that was my cycle. That's what was embedded in me. So I just, stayed in a funk for so long, and I just never tried everything. Tried antidepressants, tried the chemical route, tried medicines, tried therapies, got stuck in my addictions, because addictions are just part of us screaming out for help. So, I came to this medicine, just like I said, it was just, I don't even know how ayahuasca came, because I never did psychedelics in my life, ever. I shouldn't say that. I might have had a shroom experience when I was probably in 12th grade, but listen, psychedelics weren't part of me. And how I came to this was, I don't know, just like, I think there's these plants guide you some way. Something came, and ayahuasca came, and it was the first deep dive. And once I saw that change, even after the first experience, because my first experience with ayahuasca wasn't really pleasant. My first experience when I went to this church, listen, I drank that medicine the first time, and I said, listen, you guys are freaks. This is not what I want to do in my life. This is crazy. This is not it. And I left. I actually left that church. And, 3 weeks later, I found myself back at that same church.
Wow.
Right?
I love that story because it's so funny because the way he tells it, he's like, he's there and, it's freaky the first time you do it. Right? And he's like, and all these people and they're in white. I'm like, fuck this. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and I was out of there. I said, this isn't for me. And that was my ego screaming. But, after a few weeks and something happened, something like really snapped in the mind of mine. And, I just went back and then I went back and I dove hard. I mean, I get a little teared up here, but I dove hard on this medicine. So it was pretty powerful for me. I mean, I went into the church and I guess because I dove so hard because I just never seen anything change my life like that, just so drastically. Like 50 years of shit just came out. And nothing's really done anything like that before. And, after those experiences and just seeing people every week changing.
Yeah.
And changing. But what got to me every week was, after those experiences, I would see that church was letting people go and kind of just feeding people to the wolves, and I was like, I became a big part of that church. Every weekend I was going and, I was kind of this, they called it, we were, I can't think of the word right now.
Volunteers?
Yeah. And, every weekend I would go because I was fortunate enough. I just lived a few hours away. So every weekend I would go and volunteer. And every weekend I kept seeing these faces and these people like having these beautiful breakthroughs. And I was like, well, they're really not going to do nothing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we created this, because I knew, these people weren't doing something with it because they didn't know. I don't know why I'm so crying so much, but they didn't know.
You're going to make me cry. You're going to make me cry because it's like people are going to this meat shop, right? They come out.
And they didn't know. They didn't know. So they go back home and they don't know. So, why we wanted to give them a space where they do know, because these medicines, like really profound journeys like that, it's a little different than just a psilocybin journey. When you go on these deep ayahuasca journeys and you really get that profound, that awakening and you really see yourself for who you are. Wow.
It's very empowering.
Yeah.
It's very empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now we see there's a whole cycle of these medicines. I wouldn't recommend anybody, I don't know. I shouldn't say recommend, but I just think there's a path and there's a responsible path to these medicines. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a big part of our responsibility to show how these medicines have to be responsible for us, because these medicines are they're very impactful. And, we need to educate and inform and educate about these medicines, because without them being the way they are and just being out there like Wild Wild West is not what we want to do. So I rambled a little bit there, but I'll let Michele go.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think that was just really well said. Unfortunately, there are a lot of centers and churches who say, come in, let me give you the sacrament. And you leave with no knowledge of what's going on next. And you leave in shambles because you're broken afterwards. Everything, you break out of that glass ceiling and you really merge into someone new. But with that comes a big question mark. I knew after, going to the same church, I felt that way. I felt overwhelmed and, oh my gosh, what does life look like now? No one gave me any guidance and I had no idea where to even start. Yeah. And I also volunteered and they never even talked about it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It's just like the beginning of these in sessions, that snow globe effect, how these psychedelics really, like even in impactful journeys like that, how they shake you up. You have to have some kind of pathway to, once you get shaken up like that, you want to integrate it with some good vibrations. You want to integrate it with good thoughts and because you're replacing that with that. You're replacing those bad neurons with good. And this is what we're establishing here. And
I think it's the start of deconditioning, right? Can you guys talk about more about your businesses? You guys started Medicine with the Metals, Plant Medicine Path, Mama Dose, Church of the Sacred Plants. You guys have so many like great moving parts. Tell me all about it and kind of how they intertwine.
So we started the Plant Medicine Path first. That's sort of the mothership. And so Mark had, like he said, he bought that URL after his first experience there in Orlando. I was actually living in Colorado at the time, and Mark was down here in Florida, and we became very good friends. We would get on an integration call, many calls actually, together every single week. It was during COVID, so we were very fortunate in that the world was shut down. So we had that time to just totally integrate, right? For like 6 months, all we did, we were in opposite parts of the country, but every day we would get on integration calls. We would get on meditation calls in the morning. We dove so deep into this. It was unbelievable. And we had the time to do it because it was COVID.
Yeah.
During that time we were talking, and I was going to be moving to Florida. And we just decided that he had bought it, and we decided, let's start this. So we started the Plant Medicine Path. That was going to be it, right? And it was going to be a platform for information, education, and integration of plant medicines and their therapies. Once that started, we started our social media. That just blew up. And we felt like, okay, we're onto something. People are really looking for a different way. We're going to provide it for them. With that started Mama Dose, which is our microdosing and macrodosing. We started a separate website for that. That itself has just been incredible as well. We decided at the same time to also start our church, which is Church of the Sacred Plants. We did that so that we could form into a 508c1a under the federal government, so that we could serve our sacrament, which is psilocybin. And then we decided to start Medicine with the Metals, which is our podcast, so that we could get all of this information out to anybody who's ready to hear it.
Yeah. I think what Michelle's getting at is we created foundations because there haven't been really any. There's really hasn't been foundations. I mean, there is maps and there is other things out there. And, this whole area is exploding. I mean, it is really exploding. And we saw that 3 years ago when we first started this, that look at how much people want to know and they want to change. I mean, you couldn't really talk about these medicines 3 years ago. Now, it's out there. Science is there. We're there. Yes. And we just want people to know that these medicines, they're safe, they're effective, they work. But they're also not a quick fix. There's no quick fix to any of this, but it's the only thing that I've ever come across that works.
Yes. And you say that there's other things like maps and other science platforms, but I would say that you guys are kind of geared into a different direction, because I feel like there's like the spirituality portion of it, right? It's like connection with self, connection with all. So I do think that you guys are kind of geared towards a different market. Of course, it all kind of goes up to mental health.
And can I touch on that a little bit more, that effect of self, that effect of God, that religion, that spirituality, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it is you. It is you. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what it's about.
And, listen, these are indigenous medicines, right? I mean, there's a few of them that we're talking about, like MDMA and ketamine, that are not indigenous, but we still consider them incredible medicines.
For sure.
These are indigenous medicines that people have been using for thousands of years, right? And they're still using them in indigenous communities. We are the only ones who, however long ago, 100 years ago, decided to really tell everybody that these are bad. This is bad, and it stigmatized it. And so that, we like to say that the baton of the psychedelic healing was put down, and it's now been picked back up. These medicines work, and the stigma of that they are drugs. In our world, we consider pharmaceuticals the drugs, and these are medicines. These medicines work, and they're not for everybody, but anybody who is ready to find a different way. And there is an aspect of spirituality to this. It's not just the mental health. It is the mental health that we're working on, but there's a connection to these medicines, to the indigenous community, to the land, to Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. And when you take these medicines and you partake in these medicines, you get that connection.
And I guess I agree. I think these medicines are for everybody. I think our ego gets in the way, and that's why they're not for everybody, because that ego is just going to tell you that this isn't for you. But the ego is part of our lives.
Well, I just mean there's some people are on some medications, they can't take these medicines.
Right. So,
yes. Very, very true. Yes. I think when you talk about ego, I like to separate it between lower brain and higher brain, right? So the higher brain is talking about expansion and your future self, and lower brain is saying, oh, no, you can't do this, right? So do you think it's the lower brain that's saying, oh, no, don't take this psychedelic medicine because you're going to change and you're not going to be the same, and that's scary for the ego, right?
I like that you mentioned that a lot, because I don't think we're taught that a lot. And I think it's definitely your higher brain that's telling you that, because I think our lower brain, I think our gut is like 90% of what we do. 90% of what we think, how we feel, our emotions are all derived down in our guts. And I think that's a big part about these medicines. I think a lot of them are purgatories. And when you do these medicines, a lot of times you will purge. But we carry our traumas deep, especially when you're 40, 50, 60 years old. They're deep and they're embedded. And, your mind can be as clear as a bell, but your body's going to still react to that reactions. What psychedelics do is they really go deep to calm your inner, because your inner is you. I mean, at the end of the day, they always said it, even when we were younger, trust your gut. But we don't listen to that. We really don't. We trust our mind. We've become so mind fucked that we listen to our mind, and it's not where it's at. Our gut's where it's at, and our body tells us a lot.
And I also feel that the ego is, I look at it so completely different now. I mean, our ego is not something that we have to kill, right? This ego death.
Part of us, right?
Yeah, I mean, our ego has been there to protect us. I met my ego in a journey one time. I met her. Mm-hmm. And it's now just saying we're okay, because all of this boils down to childhood trauma.
Absolutely.
All of it. Yes. Every single thing comes down to childhood trauma. I don't care if you were raped, if you think that your life was perfect and then at 40 you were raped. It all boils down to childhood trauma, period, end of story. And so our ego has been there to protect that child, right? Since we were little. Yeah. So the ego is our friend. Yeah. We just have to
it's just little markers. It's like little markers, like little traumas in your life are left etched. Like how I say this, and me and Michelle say it all the time, like that trauma at 3 years old, you just left there and you didn't heal it. Now you stepped up to the age of 10, and now here's another trauma. Well, now you didn't heal that. You just left it there. Now you jump from 10 to 15. So we're not healing none of these things. We're told, push them down. Don't deal with it. Mm-hmm. Deal with that shit.
Mm-hmm. Or it's not a big deal, right? Oh, get over it. Who cares? It's nothing big, especially at 3 and 10 years old, right?
Well, and here's the other thing that I've learned about trauma since I've been on this path. And like I said, I came into this with 15 years of sobriety, and that's a pretty hardcore program, right? Yeah. I mean, I was the GSR for my group. I was hardcore into it. So I learned a lot about how to live life. But what I have found with this is that, how do I say this? When I just lost my train of thought.
No, you were talking about trauma.
Oh, right.
And how the body doesn't really identify.
When I came into that program, I was healing traumas along the way, or so I thought. But what I've really learned about trauma since I've done plant medicines and been down this path is that, traumas are all different, and it's how we carry them. It's not what the trauma itself is. I mean, you could have, fallen down when you were 4 years old and somebody laughed at you and called you a name, and you carried that trauma with you. And that's going to be just as big as somebody who watched their mother die in front of them. It's not about what happened to you. Because I hear people say all the time, well, I've had a pretty good life. Like there's no reason for me to be like this. That's not what it's about. It's about, like
For me, I think that's like a gaslighting moment when you are saying, "Oh no, you live such a good life. What do you have? What are you talking about?" You know, so you're even gaslighting yourself and your emotions.
Yeah, that's true.
When you say
so
that,
true.
For true. Yeah.
yes. And for me, I distinguish trauma with little T and big T. So we all have that little T trauma, like getting bullied on the playground or something small. And then we have the big T, something traumatic, moving, or something happened to your parents. But the body is still recording that as trauma.
Exactly.
And no one's talking about the body is still affected no matter what's big or small trauma that happens. And we have to address it.
You know, and a lot of these journeys that you go through, like when you purge, like I've purged out metallic pieces, like chunks that have been in my gut for a long time. You know, I've done a lot of these medicines, and, you know, I believe purging is a huge part of this. I think it's a really important part. Probably the most important, you know. I mean, no matter how you do it, no matter if you do it through bowel movements, however you do it, sweating, you've got to get these energies out. You got to get them out. You got to.
Can we talk about purging?
Yeah,
so you said bowel movement, sweating. I actually purge in the form of laughter, like ha ha ha, like that vibrational move. So what other kinds of purge can they expect?
Yawning is a big purge.
Sweating. That's a big one.
Crying. Yeah, crying is a big,
Yeah.
I mean,
going to the bathroom, your bowels release.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's actually throwing up. Now, everybody hears about the purging, the throwing up of ayahuasca. And I hear people say all the time, like, I would never go do ayahuasca because I hate throwing up.
Yeah.
I'm scared to throw up. I'll do everything I can to avoid throwing up. And this is how we're taught too, right? And I'm from the South. And in the South, it's not polite to throw up. It's just not. It's not polite, right? So
well, it's very uncomfortable.
It is. And so the first time I went and did ayahuasca, I was really terrified of that throwing up. And Mark always said to me, like, man, you got the party started, because my purging is violent and comes up, and it's a lot of shit that had to come out of me. So the purging is a really important part of it.
Even when you're going through, even when you know and you're experienced with these medicines, it's still the one part that we don't, but when it's over and it's done, man.
My God, you feel good. You are getting stuff out of you. It's not, I tell people this, it's not like you're just going in, you know, you have the flu and you throw up your dinner or something. I mean, it's guttural. You are getting things out of you that have been in there since birth.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful.
And you can feel it coming from the bottom of your stomach. And you're just like,
I mean, you're on all fours, just going, you know, but it's important. It's the best part. And the funniest part about this is now, Mark and I love the purge. And so whenever we're like, yes, do it, go, because it's so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because we know that symbolizes letting go of so much, right? Shedding.
It is. It's just about evolving and shedding, and purge is a big part of all this. Now, you don't purge so much in psilocybin, which I think a lot of people are geared towards. I don't see it really too often, maybe 1%, really, really uncommon. But I'd like to talk a little bit about psilocybin a little bit, because I think that is the future of this Western world right now. I feel that, and we all know, us in this path know it's going to be legalized very shortly. And but we want to do that in the right way too. I mean, there's a lot of information out there on psilocybin, and I think a lot of us have been educated. And you know, there's not a lot of dangers to psilocybin. There really isn't. So when it's at the end of the day, nobody's ever died on psilocybin. You know, it can be really effective with titrating off some of these antidepressants. Well, we're not going to hear and tell you that. You're going to ask your doctor. But it's also, you know, there's not too many negative backlashes to this medicine. And it's such a beautiful medicine. You can microdose it. You can journey with it. You can just whatever you want to do to get out of the mind where you're at. You know, I call it the monkey mind, the stuck. This is what it's getting out of. You want to get out of this. You want to get out of that cycle. And psilocybin just has a great way, like Joe Dispenza says, is wire and fire. Wire and fire these neurons and keep them going. You know, you don't want them idle. And that's what I love about that medicine.
Yeah, I think that psilocybin is such a beautiful medicine, and it doesn't get enough recognition on how powerful it is, right? Because you get to navigate your journey, and it does feel like there's still a sense of control in there, because with ayahuasca, it really forces you to go through those.
Yeah.
But sometimes I remember in a couple ceremonies, I left triggered.
Yeah.
And like in an incomplete journey.
Mm-hmm.
So with psilocybin, it's kind of more at my own pace. It's more gentle. And I don't know, for me, psilocybin, it always helps me dig deeper than ayahuasca.
Psilocybin is the great connector.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it connects us to source, whatever you consider source. And at the end of the day, source is us. So is you.
Yes.
So, you know, it connects you to source, it connects us to each other, and it connects us to Mother Earth. All these medicines will do that in their own special way, but psilocybin is the great connector. And I know this because psilocybin is the only plant that actually connects the entire Earth.
Yeah, it sure does.
It's underneath and it connects every single part of this entire Earth. We are very similar to psilocybin.
And it's been used by every indigenous culture there is. I mean, every culture. I mean, listen, we can go into a lot of things with religion and navigation and how the Bible was written. You know, we all can believe a lot of different theories, but, you know, I think a lot of our journeys through all this was through psychedelics of some sort. I mean, we expanded our minds through like evolution with the monkey and how our minds grew. And, you know, it's become such a lost part of our culture that
it's not talked about.
Needs to be brought back.
Yeah. I mean, I just did a podcast recently with Vanessa Kreitz, and she is in recovery. She's been in recovery for 20 plus years. And one of the things that we talked about is the spiritual awakening of Bill Wilson, who is the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. His spiritual awakening was with psychedelics. That is what it is. It's a spiritual awakening. Yeah. So we don't talk about it, but we're here to talk about it.
And, you know, you don't live on these. You know, this is a big difference between, there's a huge difference between cannabis movement and psychedelic movement. Cannabis, you know, and we could use this on a daily basis. We could do it all the time. It's, you know, psychedelics, you know, it's like one and dones kind of things. You know, some people can have one and dones and be great for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
This is, I mean, you're going to see results with psychedelics that you don't see with any other thing in the world. You just don't. And I think it's going to be very impactful for how we move forward in our country, in our world. I think what's well needed right now.
It's all about the work that you do afterwards.
Sure
I mean,
is.
this one and done, and it's not about, you know, you're actually only on the medicine for a very short period of time.
For sure.
It's the real work begins afterwards. We're always laughing with Mark's parents, let's say, about, you know, because they'll joke with us, or my dad, like, you know, oh, are you always on the mushrooms?
Yeah.
My God, no. We only use, I mean, we just came back from Costa Rica doing ayahuasca, and it had been 3 years since we'd done it.
And it's just different for everybody, you know, and I think mushrooms are a different thing. I think you should have a reset every 3 or 4 months, however that is, but it's just different. You know, you don't need to live on psychotic medicines you just don't need them in your life.
And not to mention that it's still a sacrament. We still use this with pure intentions. When we go into ceremony, you know, we're really putting our intentions in the medicine. This is not recreational. This is the intention of healing and expanding, right? But some people just think, oh,
Michelle, could you even imagine this recreational wise? I mean, it would be fun to maybe go to a concert on some mushrooms, great. But could you imagine this as recreational?
Who goes and does ayahuasca for fun? Nobody.
Don't get it.
No. I remember speaking to one of my scientist friends in the space, and they said, oh my God, Michelle, what do you think about Canada? You know, because psilocybin is legal there. And I said, well, no one's going to abuse psilocybin. The medicine is going to put them right back on track, right? So we kind of have to let this go, however it is going to unfold, and just know the medicine's going to do the work for us. We don't have to worry about drug abuse, you know, or substance abuse with psilocybin. The medicine will teach you that that's not okay.
You're absolutely right. That nailed it right there. The medicine will teach you that that's not okay.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because, you know, you shared briefly, like you were going every week for these, like the ayahuasca retreats and the psilocybin. But once you learned your lesson, it kind of puts you into a hole that you can't go on until after you integrate. Did you have the same experience?
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it took me between my second and third ayahuasca experience almost 3 years. It took me that long to integrate. Now, I had done other medicines, and of course, we've been on this, building our plant medicine path, but integration is the key. And the whole point is not to go back to the medicine every weekend. That is the whole point.
Yeah. Come back here again if you want to explore this yourself. But our point is to get you where you need to go, to show you these medicines. You're not going to jump off buildings. There's nothing unsafe about any of this. Yeah. That they just put this in your mind. They just did that.
You remember the old commercial? This is your brain, and it's an egg, and it says this is your brain on drugs. And you remember this?
Right.
Yeah. And then they showed a lady jumping out a window because she was on LSD. Yeah. I mean, this is what our government tried to make us believe. Yeah. We were just talking about how these old commercials. I mean, I'm 52 years old, so this will give you an idea. I remember being a child and watching these commercials on TV about the brain and the egg. And this is your brain on drugs, and the woman jumping out the window. And it's not true. None of it's true. It's just not true. So we were just taught to believe that. And so we're here to really shed light. And so that is what we are trying to do with all of our different moving parts here. Shed the truth.
That perspective in mind, what are you excited about to change, right? How are you going to change that stigma? And in what direction do you want to see that go towards?
Here's what I know about showing people about change is just about being and doing. And if I be, then people will see that. The biggest message that I have gotten from these medicines is when I heal, those around me heal. So when I follow my path, when I first started doing this 4 years ago, you can bet that every person that I was in AA with thought I was nuts, right? They thought I was nuts. They've been watching people watch, and here we are 4 years later, and they see that I'm not nuts, that this has actually been, I've never been more present in my life, in my own life. And so that's how we do it. We keep being, and we keep doing, and we keep showing, and we keep bringing people like you and like us, and we just keep doing and showing that this is happening. And it is. I mean, this is why this is gaining so much momentum, because we see athletes, and we see singers, and we see famous people who are out there doing it. And so people are starting to see it.
But I'm still nuts. I'm crazy, because we have to be to do this. I mean, we have to be to get this out there. I think, we have to go against the grain, because I don't believe what they say. I don't care what they do. I don't live in that world, because,
of fear.
We just have to know that we're doing the right thing. We just have to know. We do know. I mean, there's no doubt in our minds we know. I mean, there's nothing negative about these medicines. There's nothing. The only thing negative about these medicines is the people serving them in a negative way. There's a lot of that out there. And that's another story, I mean,
how do you know if someone's serving with the purest intentions and it's not a money scheme?
You have to educate yourself.
The first thing I would say, can I just say one thing here? You calling yourself a shaman? Right there would tell me, if stay away. I'm no shaman. If you're calling yourself a shaman, and you
shouldn't be serving medicine.
You stay away from that person. If you're calling yourself a prophet, maybe stay away from that other person. But
shamans are only indigenous. So let's just or have studied with the indigenous.
We're facilitators, or maybe we're practitioners, or we're something. We're not shamans. We don't know this. I mean, we don't come from lineages and lineages of serving this medicine. We just know that these medicines work.
So, and also people have to keep themselves safe. When Mark and I first started this, we felt like, okay, we're going to vet everybody. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to talk to everybody. Very quickly, we realized there's just two of us, and there's a whole entire world out there of people. So here's what we learned. We have to educate people to educate themselves. Right. We cannot keep every single person safe. We cannot do it. There's just two of us here, and nor is it our responsibility. It is our responsibility to provide education so that people can educate themselves and do their own homework and research. And we're here to provide that platform. But we're not here to say, we can't tell you every single person is safe or every person isn't safe. We do vet people. We do. But you have to educate yourself.
This is like just the 3D world. You got to use your common sense, Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are coming to these medicines at their last hope. And a lot of, there's a lot of people going to take advantage of people in every way, shape, or form. We are a platform where, listen, when we're going to put it on our platform, we're pretty sure it's going to be like scrutinized to the fullest. So, you just got to kind of use your common sense right now. This is growing substantially, and you just need to educate. Would I do this in the real world? Would I do this?
Yeah, there's bad players everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a big thing for me, I've learned a lot since my journey to Costa Rica. And, I have to say this humbly, but I have to say this. I think there's a profound experience when you go to the jungle, and it's just different. And I think going to the jungle is where you need to go if you're going to go do big medicine. Get that passport, spend that plane ticket, because it's going to be the same value as if you do it in the States. Now, I'm not saying the States isn't as safe or not. There's plenty of places in the States to go. And I'm glad there's these places. But the real journey starts with these people.
Yes. Do you think that out in nature is just better when you're on a journey?
I do. Listen. I'm grateful that there are ayahuasca retreat centers in the United States, because not everybody can go outside the country. Right? Not everybody can leave this country. Not everybody can afford to. The first time I went and did medicines, I was still a single mother. I had to get help just to get to Florida. So I get it. You can't always do that, but. I think that we just had our first experience in Costa Rica at Om Jungle Medicine with the Shawanawa tribe, who we're now sponsoring. And it was incredible to go to the jungle, the rainforest, and do it in a maloca where it's actually, this maloca is built on ayahuasca vines. The ayahuasca is coming out of it. You're doing it with the indigenous. Yes, it makes a huge difference. Some of these medicines, psilocybin, yes, it's still nice to be somewhere where you can have access to outside, but big medicines like ayahuasca, if you can get to the jungle, go do it with an indigenous tribe, because it's a very different experience.
It's like they're calling upon other spirits to kind of help and guide you, like the spirit of the vine, the spirit of the trees, the birds, and it's just something so beautiful. Especially, did they sing like the Icaros while you were there?
Yeah, they did it the whole time. So we went, the Shawanawa tribe is from Brazil. They were in Costa Rica at Om Jungle Medicine. But so Brazilian tradition is that you start drinking the ceremony starts at 9 p.m. It goes till 7 a.m. Oh, wow. You drink 3 different brews throughout the night. Wow. And then there's also a rape ceremony in between second and third cup. They sing the whole entire time. And it was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. At one point, I remember just laying in the middle of the maloca, face down, with my head, just feeling the vibrations of the music just coming through. I just laid like right in front of them, just bam, flat down. Yeah, it's incredible.
And now they want to honor you.
Yes. Or we honor them, actually.
Yeah.
I think you said it earlier. I think we're a little bit different than what the MAPS way is going. I think people need to have their choices, and eventually this is going to be in a pill form, and you're going to be able to just take it over the counter when your doctor subscribes it. And if that's the way, that's the way. If that's the way you want to go, or we can go the indigenous way, with the plant way, the natural way, however you want to do it. And I think people should have access, and they should have listen. Why are these medicines illegal? There's no reason. We were given these medicines for a purpose. And to make them illegal is just silliest thing I've ever seen or heard of in my life. And how can you even? We found this with cannabis. Now, finally, they found a way to tax it. Now, look, every state almost overnight is legalized. Isn't that crazy? Just now it's good for you, but it's the sickness that the corporate culture has created. And it's crashing, it's crumbling, and we need to create something different. I'm not saying a lot of the things they did are bad, but a lot of these, we have to get back in touch with us. Everything doesn't matter outside of us. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But yes, the Shawanawa tribe is we are. It's okay.
I get off these subjects. I go
yes. we are sponsoring them, and then we in return, yes, they are. We're going to be going to Brazil in July for a festival that they have there. 10 days. We're going to be bringing you and a few other people. Yeah. But yes, to go to their village in Brazil.
Wearing grass skirts.
Yes, it's very exciting. But they 5%, I just want to get this out there, 5% of everything that comes through Mama Dose, the church, Plant Medicine Path is going to the Shawanawa tribe to sponsor them. And 1% goes to Om Jungle Medicine, who that's their home while in Costa Rica. Both of these are just incredible and beautiful. The Shawanawa tribe's incredible. Jungle Medicine's incredible. So just know that every time you purchase anything through us, that 6% is going to this tribe. So
there are some like, them. Right. And we represent a lot of people too, like Iboga, like Iboga Soul, they're another great spot. We talk about ayahuasca a lot because, that's the medicine that we found, but Iboga is another medicine that is really, not talked about a lot. Ibogaine is Ibogaine's going to be a life changer for so many people that are addicted to opiates right now. I mean, when you see a medicine that's almost 85% success rate to get you cleared off opioids, I mean, we're doing something right. So,
well, I think that plant medicine path is geared to all plant medicine, correct?
All of them.
So
even ketamine,
even ketamine and MDMA also, but ketamine for sure. This is a pharmaceutical, obviously, but it's a beautiful medicine. And Mark and I just say, it's if it works, we're a proponent of it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be from all the plants. People say, oh, you're calling mushrooms plant medicine. They're not a plant. Well, in our eyes, they're a plant. Don't be such an ass. I mean,
these aren't even all psychedelics, right? We're talking about other Cambo. Yeah. Wow, that's one of our favorite medicines ever. That's not a psychedelic.
How about breath work?
Meditation, yoga.
Yeah.
It's all to get you to change, to change what we're doing,
We are the medicine.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are.
All these other things are just showing us that we are the medicine and we already have all the answers inside of us. Yes. These medicines just open that door to be able to see them. And whether we listen or not, that's where the work is. And that's our choice. We've chosen to listen. And that's why we're living this life we're living now. That's why we have the plant medicine path. That's why we're married now. That's why we have the things that we have, because we chose to listen, honor it, and continue to do the work.
And the work's hard. Nothing's easy about this. Nothing. This isn't like, oh, we took this medicine and now we're cured.
No.
The medicine was a tool that is used. And we do the hard work because we have to do the deconditioning, peel back those layers, and we have to kind of just even like transmute that energy out of our bodies that's been stored for so long.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's coming back and loving yourself.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's so true. It's really coming back to self.
It's all about self. It's all about self-love. It really is, because even when you think that you have self-love, right? Because when we love ourselves, fully, truly love ourselves, then we are able to let go of things that no longer serve us, whatever that looks like. And when we're letting go of things that no longer serve us, then we're truly honoring ourselves. We're being present in our lives, and we're being the most authentic version of ourselves. And that's what these medicines do for us. Whatever that is that we're letting go of that no longer serves us, whether it's cigarettes or alcohol or my mother who's been treating me like shit my whole life.
Yes.
Whatever it is, that's what it boils down to.
And I think before we close here and get on the way, I think a really important thing when you go on to jump on this path, there's two important things. Join the plant medicine path. And, a book that really transmired me was the 4 Agreements. I think that book, like everybody should read it at the daily basis, is the 4 Agreements. I think So
let's go backwards. I'm going to ask what are some things that you guys want to share. Okay. Like that are really important. And then you can say, okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just because you were mumbling in your words, so I want to make sure that they get that message.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are some things that you guys recommend while taking this journey?
Go ahead.
Well, I recommend a few things. I recommend joining groups like ours. The Plant Medicine Path is a really good group to follow. Getting The Four Agreements was an awesome book for me at the beginning of this path, to read that and to really understand it. And I'm not a big reader, but it's just a really quick book, and it's really just very impactful. And I think, integration is really important. Mm-hmm. I guess sitting with yourself and there's a lot of things to learn, but sitting with yourself and just understanding yourself, and alone time is good. Don't let people tell you it's not, because, alone is good. Alone is good. This is an individual path. It's a selfish path, but it's not.
Mm-mm. I mean, I think that we are on a solo journey here, but we do need community. So I would tell people that, find your community. That's super important. We've got a really beautiful and large community at the Plant Medicine Path, but find your community and do the work. Now everybody says, what's the work? The work is all of it, right? It's sitting in it. I was thinking about this last night when I was meditating. I was thinking, when somebody asked me, what is the work? What does that mean? You're doing the work. It's the little things. It's when you're fighting with your child about something, instead of having a reaction, it's sitting in that uncomfortableness. Mm-hmm. It's trying to have a different reaction. It's doing something different. That's what the work is. It's being okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, Michelle nailed it. It's like that awareness. The biggest thing is awareness, and don't react. We all want to react. We all want to, even before you ask questions, you want to answer them because we're not listening. It's more of just an awareness and just listening and saying, I guess going back and saying, is that really me? Is that... And that awareness is what psychedelics has really given me.
But there are actual daily practices,
absolutely,
right? Yeah. You come back from a plant medicine experience. Pay attention to what you're putting in your body.
Right.
Pay attention to what you're doing. If you're microdosing, it's not just popping a pill on your way out the door. There's intention setting. There's meditation. There's getting on integration calls. There's an integration coach. There's exercise. there is so much to it. It's what you're watching on TV. It's not just what you're putting into your body. What are you putting into your mind? There is so much to it. It's doing the work. It's not just going and having this experience and then going home and doing the same shit that you've always done.
Mm-hmm. Putting that alcohol back in the system, or putting, alcohol is like, I don't know. That's a demon to me now. For me, I used to be like such in love with alcohol, but looking back, it's such a low vibrational thing.
Yes.
It's widely accepted. So
yes, because they want to suppress us, right? They want to keep us at that frequency, and that I feel like that plays a huge role on why psychedelic medicine is illegal.
Yeah, of course,
sure.
Because it happened in the 60s, right? And so this was a time when people were rebelling in the 60s, and the culture of love. And then the Vietnam War was started, and people were saying, I'm not going to war. And so Nixon said, oh, well, this all has to do with the acid and the peace and love, and people are finding their way. And so they started the war on drugs, right? And then Reagan came in, and he really got it going. So 100%, that's what it was about.
Yeah. Very sad, very terrible. But now it's coming back, and they really put a little niche in society. And I guess we really learned a lesson. We had to learn this lesson. We can't go back and say it wasn't a lesson we had to learn. Yeah. We're living not the way we're supposed to be living today. This is not, we're not supposed to wake up every day, 9 to 5, work till we're 70. They worry about this 401k. Get the fuck real. We're supposed to live our life every day. If you want to get up and watch The Price is Right, do it. But do something. Evolve to what you're doing. Evolve out of this stage. Because it's scary in the beginning, but what is it after? The big thing that we we resist fear. We just talked
resist
about
being uncomfortable.
What is fear?
Well, I feel like everything that you ever want is on the other side of fear.
Absolutely, for sure.
Everything. So it's like an indicator of some sort, right? It's a guide. What am I so afraid of? What's on the other side, though? Every time I'm in that state and I feel it in my body, I'm like, I got to go through it. I can't let fear overcome my life. Take the the steering wheel. I have to go forward.
I mean, that's what the shadow is, right? I mean, we're living in the shadow. I mean, the shadow is fear and hate and fear.
Just turn on the news. Just turn on the news any second of the day. That's it. That's all they're doing. Is it fear? Fear.
When I actually see the news, it's a reminder that the 3D Earth is no longer serving anyone.
No way.
And there's so much chaos, and I could just feel it, right? We could feel that there's so much chaos, but it's because it's no longer serving us. And I think that people really want to elevate and really move into that 5D and don't know how. So how can people start showing up for themselves before ceremony? Like, what does that look like? Does that look like just walking outside for 10 minutes? Like, how do people start?
Just small. I mean, it starts small. It starts with joining a group. It starts with walking outside and sitting on the earth and literally grounding yourself. It starts with going out and picking up a piece of trash. It starts with drinking water. It starts with you.
It starts with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
We're taught from an early age that it's not okay to be uncomfortable. I mean, we're taught that. And so we're all so afraid to be uncomfortable. And that's where the healing happens. That's where the magic lies, is in the uncomfortableness. You know, we're not growing and healing when we're in joy. That's the gift. We're growing and healing in the uncomfortableness.
You know, I feel like it's very interesting that people rather be lost than in discomfort. Because we've been in this lost mentality for years, right? We're just kind of stuck this way. And then as soon as we think of, oh, let me do a yoga class. Oh, but that makes me feel uncomfortable. How long is that discomfort actually going to last? The first 5 minutes?
Yep.
So what do you want to stay in? Do you want to stay in this lost state of mind? Or do you just want to go through this discomfort for the next 5-10 minutes?
Yep. Yep, exactly. And is it scary to go do that ayahuasca weekend? Hell yeah, it's scary. But is it worth it?
Medicine ceremony.
Anything's better than sitting in that shit for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Isn't it funny how we all do the same thing every holiday? We go see the same family. We go to the same Thanksgiving, it's the same thing. It's like, what does it change? What does it change? I mean, oh, it's Thanksgiving. Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, it's this. Well, it's just another day. You know, all these are just days that we live for these days. We've created these days in society that we live for when we're not living for today.
You're right.
Yes.
It's true. Something the other day was like, oh, however many more days till Christmas. And I'm like,
how many more days till tomorrow?
Shit. It's today. Today is today.
You know, people plan, they plan this, they plan this year, they plan for what? I mean, how about, you know, you got to live life today, you know, and that was really hard. Monkey minds are very hard to control. I mean, all this sounds easy the way we're talking right now, but, you know, we've done a lot of fucking work.
None of this is difficult. And let me tell you, even after 4 years, none of this is so easy. It's very difficult because we're human.
Right.
We're human, and we're always going to have our human behaviors. That's why this is called a practice. It's not perfect. It's practice, not perfection. We used to say the same thing in AA. Practice, not perfection, because we're human. So we're always going to go back to our human behaviors.
And we call it a path. This is a path. If you want to be on this path or that path, you have to be on some path in life. If you want to be on the 3D path, it's your path. Plant medicine path is your path. Whatever path you choose, we're free human beings to choose what we want to fucking choose. Why don't you let us choose it? You know? Choose it. There's nothing wrong with this path. If you want to enlighten yourself, if you want to become more conscious and more aware,
wake up.
You know, really
I had a friend tell me 7 years ago, and I was saying, oh my God, I can't wait for Saturday to come because I wanted to be off of work. And he said, you know, Michelle, if you keep on wishing for tomorrow, you'll be dead.
Yeah.
Like it will already be gone. And, you know, when I heard that 7 years ago, let's see, that was 21. I was like, what is this guy talking about? I'm young, you know? So I was like, what is he saying? And now I fully understand that. If I keep on wishing for tomorrow, tomorrow would never come. And being present is so important because we can't just be okay with the society honeypots for Christmas, for our PTO time.
Yeah.
Like what we need to give ourselves joy every day in the present moment.
We're always waiting for something that's going to make us happy. You know,
yes.
when I get that promotion, when I get that new car, when I move into a bigger house, when I go on that vacation. Oh, I got vacation next year. You work a whole year to go on vacation for 4 days. I mean, it's crazy.
Yes.
You be happy now. Yeah. You wake up today and be happy, even though today is, you know, I'm going to work today. I mean, it's like, be present. And that's what these plant medicines do. They allow you to be present in your life and to be living your most authentic life.
Yes. Yes. And it's a journey, right? I'm sure you guys still have days that are just like, oh man, what is going on? I'm so overwhelmed. But then you go back to it, right?
That's why I call it a practice. I mean, I almost picked up a pumpkin and threw it at him the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're human. Yeah. Like we are still human beings. Yeah. We're not
a real pumpkin.
It wasn't a real one. It was a fake one. But you know, like it's funny. But the point is that we're just human beings. I mean, we're not perfect. Yeah. This path there's a lot of similarities in my path in recovery. Mm-hmm. And so I used to say to people all the time, because I was a sponsor, I would say, you know, I don't know any more than you do. Mm-hmm. I've just been sober a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's just been a little bit longer since I had a drink or since I've used those drugs. Mm-hmm. And I say the same thing to people on this path, right? I don't know any more than you do. I've just done this or I've done that. And that's what it is. You just get up and do something. It's one step. Just get up and do something. Right. You just do it.
Because I think in life we become who we are not. And I think plant medicines make us become who we are, who we truly were.
Yes. Wow. It's so hard. This journey is so hard. It's so hard. So many deconditioning, so much layer peeling. And Mark, I see you getting emotional. Stay present. It's okay. We could sit with those emotions and we could sit in gratitude and we could say, I'm so happy that all this, my whole life has led me here. Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because you know, there's two things that I've learned. I mean, anxiety is the future and depression is the past. So stay in the present.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm proud of you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your message, your love. And I think you're really doing great things in the community. And I think everyone really appreciates you.
Thank you so much. We're very grateful. You know, Mark and I are just every day. I mean, his office is in here, mine's in the other room, and we just talk from room to room. And we just say, can you believe this is our life? How lucky are we? We are so grateful, but it's not really luck because it's work. We work really hard.
You created this, right? We are all creators. You created this beautiful life. So
thank you, Michelle.
And we're creating more with you.
Yes.
I mean, you run into just great people on this path. We've known each other for a little while now. And, you know, we never knew where you were going to fit in, but
here you are.
You're going to be see it.
Yeah, we're here. No, I love it. I love our community. I love our family. You know, I know anytime I'm going through something, I'm like, Michelle, I've had this mommy guild. And like, she is like, has been such an amazing friend. Mark is always the monkey brain. Hey, let's do this. Let's do that. But it's so necessary because he thinks outside the box, you know, like Mark is like, but this, and it gives a unique angle to things that it's like, that makes sense. Why is no one else saying this stuff? But it's because they want to think one way. Mark doesn't think that way.
And he's a doer.
He's
a doer. You know, we can end with this, but I tell this story that I mean, my husband is a doer. We watched a documentary called Dosed one day on TV. And he looked at me and he said, I want to know this guy. I want to get to know this guy. I want to get this guy on a podcast. His name was Mark Howard. He's the producer, and he and his wife are in the documentary Dosed. And, you know, next week we're going up to Vancouver to hang out with Mark Howard and his wife. I mean, here we are 1 year later, and now this guy is now my husband's best friend. So
wow.
that's the way it works in this. He does the work, and these are the results.
Yes.
We had Dennis McKenna on too.
Yeah, we did do
We're
that.
gonna have Gabor Mate, Gabor. I want Gabor. So I don't say. I just was a doer in life, and
yes.
I think it just converted to this.
Yes, there's a lot of things that people said that you couldn't do, and you have always broke out of that and showed them that you can do it. Yep, these are the next trailblazers in the psychedelic space. This is it. Oh, I'm so happy. Yes.
Thank you, Michele.
So much.
I almost cried like 4 times.
But let's end. We love you. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.